Hi everyone, we are here at Atlanta Diamond Designs workshop doing a machine engraving. So this is a medical ID bracelet. It looks funny because I have tape on it. I'll talk about that in a second. But I wanted to just first of all talk about the work holding. I'm usually very particular about that, but because this is steel, we could just put it directly into the plastic jaws. We don't have to worry about putting pressure on it like we do with silver and gold, which is much softer and can get warped by that. So that saves us a lot of time. However, this bracelet is going to have 5 rows of text. And in my opinion, each of those should count as a separate engraving because each of those has to be lined up individually. But we go by the David Geller Blue Book of repairs for pricing. So he goes by characters. And so in my opinion, this customer got very undercharged for their engraving, but I'm going to have to tell David Geller what I think about his engraving prices. So first, I went from the bottom to the top. On the top side, they're going to have the customer's name or the customer's mother's name, and then hearing loss and blood thinner. So I'm kind of going backwards. First of all, to protect the individual's identity, I won't engrave the person's name on a video. Previously, in a different life, as a medic in the Army myself, I know that the blood thinner part is the most important part. And in this bottom part, I have the most space to go all the way across. So I'm going to put blood thinner in the largest font. And I already went through the trouble of doing these trial runs with tape so that it doesn't actually scratch the surface of the piece, but you could see through it and see that it lines up beautifully on the piece. So I already did all that to keep the length of the video down. So now I'm going to take my tape off, and you see it's completely clean surface. Nothing's been engraved. I just want to double check that everything is nice and tight, and I'll go ahead and start engraving the first part. Because it's steel, we really have to push down hard on the handpiece. Otherwise, it just doesn't make much of an indentation, and then it just won't last that long. We're not doing anything fancy today, just a regular block text, which is very important since these are for emergency service personnel to be able to read clearly. Okay, there's my blood thinner. Now, I'm going to set up a whole nother row that says hearing loss. And I'll reconnect with you when I'm ready to engrave that. Okay, so we are now, I have put my hearing loss letters in place here. So I know for a fact that hearing loss won't fit, won't be able to be as large of a font as blood thinner. So my blood thinner was at 3.5. I don't know if it makes sense, but I have to go up in numbers. So I'm gonna try, it's like a little bit of trial and error which is where the tape comes in handy, because I can see it's also I have to change the alignment because we're going to a higher spot on the bracelet, and also there's this red medical ID, medical symbol here that we need to work. Yeah, that's too big. I mean, the height is fine. It's the width. So now I'm gonna try 4.5. Ooh, just barely, but I don't like, I like things to have like breathing room. So I'm just gonna go up to 5 now and see if that's not too small. Okay, I'm gonna move it over a little. Yeah. In an ideal world, I would have it all line up really nicely, but it's more important for me that these fonts be as big and legible as possible. My concerns here are less aesthetic and more utilitarian. So, okay, I'm gonna line up my camera better so you guys can see what's going on here. This is a low stakes moment. I have 3 pieces of tape on here, so whatever I engrave on here really shouldn't show up. I'm also doing it really lightly. I'm really just trying to get a sense of whether this is going to be, first of all, legible. Because I did have to, unfortunately, go a lot smaller on this font. And second of all, whether it fits just fine in the space. So, hearing loss, I see it just fine, but I think I'd like to move it down a little bit. So I loosened one of the screws. Yeah, okay. I'm going to do it once again with tape, and then we'll go for the real deal. I like for it to look perfect on the tape before I make the plunge. Okay, I want to make sure everything is tight, because if you've seen any of my engraving videos before, you know that the biggest enemy of engraving is movement. So this really doesn't have to be that strong, because we're just making an impression on a piece of magic tape. And I would say I even did it too strong, because, but I do see that it fits very nicely in the space. I'm happy with how it looks. I'm ready to go. All right. No turning back now. Gotta do it really strong because it's steel. This isn't soft like, you know, I usually engrave gold and silver, maybe on occasion some platinum, but steel is a different beast. And if you don't get it in there really really strong, it won't make, you know, much of a deep cut, and then it'll fade really fast. Hearing loss, I see it. Okay, so we're gonna turn this over and do 2 more rows on the other side after I engrave the customer's name. So I'll see you when I'm ready to turn it over. You guys, I have to apologize. I had a moment of poor forethought, and I realized that on the back every single piece of information is personal. It's her son's name and his cell phone number, so I can't do a video, but I guess the point is, I hope you could tell from the front that each individual row has to be done separately and laid out with the foresight that you're going to have these additional rows in the future, which is very difficult, especially if you want them spaced perfectly evenly. And then that because each one has its own setup, to me, each one is like its own engraving. So yes, be prepared if you're doing an extensive engraving of especially a stainless steel bracelet, like a medical ID, that it's quite possible that the engraving will end up being more expensive than the bracelet itself. I hope this was, but you know, it's worth it. You can rest assured that a loved one, that the medical personnel will know who to contact when they're in need, and there's nothing more important than having that kind of peace of mind. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next time.